Hey, it's Game Hydro. We're playing Voidpet Dungeon. We're going to go over a tier list of the best Void Pets and help you build the best team that you can, starting with Envy. Now, there's currently a total of 49 Void Pets in this game. Envy is one of them. Passive is increased damage based on maximum health. Rarity is rare. You can see that this one is much more biased toward attack. Stamina is decent. Defense is kind of low. Dark Blast, that's a solo attack. Gaslight, that's a solo attack with a lot more damage. Remove all buffs from the enemy. Uh, Shadow Flame, attack an enemy, burn for 30% of the damage dealt. Pretty decent. I'm going to give Envy B plus tier, bordering on A minus. Alright. Moving forward, we got Anxious. That is similarly biased toward attack, but less attack power, and slightly higher defense, but low stamina. High speed is kind of nice, though. 50% attack is gained based on speed. So Anxious is a good one to have kind of at the front of your party, just due to speed. Attack an enemy. Jitters, attack an enemy, hits 3 times. So that's 24 times 3 is 72. Restless Strike, increase your speed 2 turns. Attack an enemy, decrease their speed for 2 turns. So speed on speed on speed. I find the super high speed to be very useful here. Anxious, A tier. Now, if you are not keeping up, go ahead and backtrack. Go grab a pen and paper and write down the tiers for the various Void Pets. Please. Sad. It will make me sad if you don't. No, I'm kidding. Alright, Sad is a rare type. Very well balanced statistically. High stamina, high attack, high defense, medium speed. Deals more damage to debuff targets. You got Water Bolt, you got Bubble Blast, and you got Isolate, which can debuff an enemy that deals damage over 3 turns and reduces defense for 2 turns. That's pretty good. I'm also giving Sad an A tier. Anger, high attack, medium defense, slightly low on the stamina. Gains attack based on missing hit points. Fire type, we got Scorching Strike, Crossfire, and Unbridled Rage, which increases attack power for 2 turns. Crossfire hits twice. Overall, stats are good. Skills are a little underwhelming. I'm going B plus with Anger. Next up, we got Pain. Gains 5% attack when hit. Has lots of stamina. Can take a lot of pain. It's a tank type. Attack and defense very low, though. In fact, the defense is low to such a degree that it kind of kills the whole point of having all that stamina. Flame Lance, attack an enemy, reduce attack for 1 turn. Self-Sabotage, attack all enemies. Alright, Self-Sabotage is pretty strong. That alone would be a good reason to have Pain in the party, and has been for me in my battles. But overall, the defense and the stamina, not that big a fan. I'm going B tier for Pain. Spite, rare, metal fighter, ultra low stamina, ultra high attack, lowish defense, high speed. It is the very definition of a glass cannon. So, Iron Claw. You got Laser, attack an enemy, reduce healing for 2 turns. Backstab, attack an enemy, and can bypass the tank. The bypassing the tank is super useful. Overall, though, the stamina is really going to put a pox on your efforts here, so I'm going B tier for Spite. Next, we got Lonely. Stats are a little bit mid. Stamina is low, attack is low, defense is low. Speed is decent. Soak, attack an enemy. Mend, heal an ally by 120. That's pretty legit. Overall, Lonely, you kind of need a healer. I'm going A tier just for this one because you kind of need a healer. A minus tier actually because it only heals one ally at a time, but the speed being high is pretty good, and that is a rare. All right, Paranoia epic. Attack is high, defense is decently high, stamina is fairly low, speed's good. Conspiracy theory, attack an enemy hits twice. Sharpen, increases critical chance by 45%. Then attack an enemy hits 5 times. Those skills are severely underwhelming. I'm going B minus tier for Paranoia. Yeah. Sonder is a epic water type. Stamina's decent. Attack is a little low. Defense is pretty high. Combination of stamina and defense, it's kind of tankish, I guess, but more of a healer type. But you want your healer to have good defense anyway, so you don't want them to suck. Tackle, attack an enemy, remove all debuffs from an ally and then heal them. Heal all allies over 3 turns. All right, this is what we're talking about as far as healing goes. You got an option to heal one character or heal all of them. I like that. Stats are good. Speed is high. Sonder gets an A plus tier. All right, now we got epic Sanctimony. Stamina is pretty good. Attack and defense very high. Stone Slash, attack an enemy. Earth Blast, attack an enemy. Reduce healing. Fracture, attack all of them. So all around the skills are excellent here. The skills have a really good attack power and are very useful. Sanctimony can be a really good DPS type here. I'm going A plus tier for Sanctimony. All right, Abandonment. Holy crap. Attack low, defense sky high, stamina pretty good. Cold Shoulder. Attack an enemy, reduce speed for 1 turn. Spike Shell, increase defense for 2 turns. So far, so good on that, dude. Good tank type for sucking up damage and doesn't really take a whole lot of it. And with that Cold Shoulder attack, can fire back pretty decently. So, Abandonment, I am giving A plus tier, which is pretty good for a rarity of rare. Let's go Jealous. Sky high attack power, medium stamina, medium high defense, very high speed. And the high speed is very good here. Increases damage to enemies per fragment that they have. Leaf Volley, attacks an enemy, hits 3 times, applies 3 fragments. Alright. Fragment Burst detonates all fragments. Verdant Claim attacks all enemies, applies 2 fragments to each one. Verdant Claim, very high damage. The other ones, kind of mid, but the damage stat will be a boost to that. Jealous is a legendary type. Overall, I'm going A tier for Jealous. Now, you may be asking why I haven't had any S tier types yet. I want S tier to completely blow me away. All right, Gluttony, legendary, super, super, super high attack, decent stamina, decent to high defense. Slash, attack one enemy, bleed for 30% of damage. Ravage, attack all enemies, damage dealt is based on bleed. Lacerate, attack all enemies, apply a bleed for 100% of damage dealt. All right, so Gluttony is completely ridiculous here in a good way. This is the first one I'm going to give S tier to because the attack power is stupid high, speed is good, and the other stats don't suck. All right, next up, we got Pride. What type was that last one? Earth. Now we got Metal. So attack is very, very high. Stamina and defense are actually high here. Speed's low. Pierce, attack an enemy. Steamroll, attack an enemy. Hit an additional time for each buff on Pride. And Steel Fury, increase all ally attack for 2 turns, then attack all enemies. So that's like 2 moves in one right there. Alright. Pride is a great all-around fighter. I'm going to go S- tier for this dude. Lust. You got... let's see what we got. Legendary, Metal. The attack is high. The defense is very low. Speed is very high. Stamina is kind of low. Alloy Burst to attack one enemy. Wrecking Ball to attack an enemy and ignore 15%. Dear God. 50% of defense. Blindside. Attack an enemy for massive damage and can bypass the tank. Alright, so Lust is quite literally a wrecking ball here, especially against tough boss type levels. Excuse me. So I'm going to give Lust an A+ tier because the defense is really lacking, and so is the stamina. But the speed and the attack, I'm going to give, I'm going to move that down to A tier. The attack is incredible. The speed and the defense. The speed's incredible. The defense and stamina, Sloth. Obviously speed's going to suck, but stamina's high. Defense is high. Attack is moderately high. About medium for a legendary. What do we got? Whack. Attack an enemy. If critically strikes, increases defense. Crush. Critical strikes with Crush deal bonus damage. Shockwave. Attack all enemies. For pretty high damage. So Sloth is a hardcore tank, but with some extra attack power here. Best tank I've seen yet. I'm going S- tier. Alright, we got Wrath, fighter type. Stamina low, attack sky high, defense medium low. Speed pretty high. You got every single one of these attacks deals area damage to all enemies. Supernova is ridiculously, insanely strong. Flames of Fury is ridiculously, insanely strong. Dear God. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, despite the low stamina, you gotta give S-type to Wrath. Alright. Greed. So, stamina is medium to low. Defense is decent, is pretty good. Attack is very high. Fire type, and it is a fighter type. Firebolt to attack an enemy. Festering Flame, double damage if they have a burn debuff. Firestorm is area damage. A burn for 200% of the damage dealt is pretty good. Aside from Firestorm, though, I don't think anything's really blowing my skirt up. I'm going to give that one an A-. Estrangement is very good stamina, very good attack, medium defense. So we've got Ice Bolt, Ice Breath for area damage, and then a word that I can't say, reduces all speed for 2 turns for enemies, increases all allies' attack for 2 turns. That's a decent buff right there. And the rest of them, pretty good damage. Excuse me. Water is kind of a rare type in this game that I've noticed. So just being a water type makes it a little more valuable. I'm going A+ tier. All right, now we got Nostalgia. It's another legendary. This one's Earth and is a healer. So we got pretty high attack power, pretty high stamina, decently high defense, speed, mediocre. What do we got? Bile, attack an enemy, dissolve, apply a debuff, and do some damage. Warm Dream. Increase the defense of all allies and apply a shield for 2 turns. Alright, so not strict healing over here, but the shield is a pretty nice touch here. I mean, it kind of has a similar effect to the healing, right? Just it puts the stamina in a different place. So I'm going A plus tier for this guy, maybe S minus. All right, next we got Judgment. This is back down to a rarity. For a rare, it has super high attack, decent defense, bad stamina. Let's see. The skills themselves have very high attack, especially Vertical Plummet. Attack an enemy, stun them for 1 turn. Steel Whirl, attack all enemies. Always critically strikes. That's pretty badass. So for a rare, I would say Judgment is an A tier because that's some extra legit attack. Also, the passive, increase speed when enemies are below 20% health. Alright, Salty. That's some of these emotions are getting kind of funny. Lots of stamina, tons of defense, almost zero attack power, and not much speed. So Salty's attack is going to leave you feeling salty. Shell Strike, attack an enemy with 42 damage. Hard Crust, apply a shield and then deal damage to all enemies when the shield breaks or expires. That's pretty good. Pretty decent tank type over here. And I like that there's multiple ways to deal damage. I'm going a B plus for Salty over here. Next up, we got Sag. I do not know what Sag means. A domesticated relative of Sag. Okay, of Sad. So this thing is epic, second highest rarity, also second lowest rarity. A lot of attack power, pretty decent stamina, pretty good defense, speed mediocre. So this is a water type. Water types are rare. Icicle, attack an enemy. Snowpocalypse, attack an enemy. I wonder if the maker of this game knows that Snowpocalypse is a popular snow cone place in the south. Anyways, Latent Misery, which is not the name of a snow cone place in the south, applies a debuff to all enemies that deals damage over 3 turns. Pretty legit. A lot of damage here, surprisingly, for these. None of them, though. Well, Latent Misery is a damage over time area of effect type of thing. I'd say that one is pretty good. Overall, I'm giving this one A tier. Next up, we got Down Bad. Speaking of strange emotions. Oh, boy. So, wait, this one's legendary? Stamina, low for a legendary. Attack, medium for a legendary. Defense, low for a legendary. But speed, here's the kicker. The speed for Down Bad is astronomically fast. It's like the Trey Turner of Void Pets. And the passive always goes first. Pounce, attack an enemy, damage increase every hit. Jungle Rush, attack an enemy, ignore a quarter of their armor, and a ton of damage. Anyways, Growth Spurt, increase the speed of all allies for 2 turns. Extra action. That one is a pretty good desperation move, especially if you're in a really tough battle. Down Bad could help by these weird skills, especially that last one. Down Bad is more useful when you're almost losing than when you're winning easily. And that's kind of what you want. So Down Bad, I'm giving that one an A plus tier. Cringe, which is what everybody who's currently watching this video does when they hear my voice. No, I'm kidding. Stamina, pretty high. Attack, pretty low. Defense, sky high. Speed, mediocre. So this is a tank. We got Tendril Slap. We got Watermelon Seed. After 2 turns, deals damage to all enemies and restores health. So you gotta wait 2 turns, but it's ridiculously effective if you can survive those 2 turns. Just gotta use it smartly. Constricting Vines attack all enemies. Pretty good on all counts here. I like all of those kind of, and the inherent damage of the skills kind of makes up for the low attack. So as far as epics go, I gotta kind of go S minus A plus here. Grumpy, Rare Earth Fighter. Gain increased attack each time an ally dies in battle. Damn, that's a pretty wild one. Stamina and attack slightly low, defense slightly high. So, smack, attack an enemy. Primal charge, attack an enemy. Apply brittle too. Stomp, attack all enemies. I don't know. Everything about that one is perfectly medium. So I'm going to go B, potentially B plus tier. Curious. Curiouser and Curiouser. This is a rare wood fighter. 25 stamina, 49 attack, 38 defense. Scratch and claw. Attack is decently high. Defense is low. Stamina is hilariously low. This one is terrible. The only thing it has going for it is speed. And that's still not enough to make up for the bad stamina and bad defense. And the lack of area of effect attacks. I'm going C tier with this one. Curious is almost useless. Glee. Let's see. This is rare Earth Healer. Stamina low, attack high, defense medium. Mud Blast attack, Stone Surge attack and reduce for 2 turns. Earth Ward, shield an ally. So this one's kind of like a great value version of that legendary healer I just went over. But not bad. The shield is pretty decent. I'm going to go with this one B plus tier. I like that shield. Rejection. Legendary water tank. High stamina and attack. Medium defense. And decent speed, actually. Let's see. Hydro Gulp. Attack an enemy. Heal based on the damage dealt. Alright, rejection. We got Lifesteal. Rip Current. Attack an enemy. Stun him for 1 turn. Downpour. Reduce the attack of all enemies for 2 turns. So, I really like the Lifesteal move here. And I like the ability to stun and to drop the attack power of enemies with this rejection dude. I'm going A to A plus tier. Desperate is a hardy scavenger. Epic metal fighter. So, yeah, not a legendary tier like that last one. Attack power's high. Stamina and defense are very low for an epic, but speed is really good. You got Smooth Swipe. You got Frantic Lunge. Attack an enemy. Hit 1 more time if the enemy is below 30% health. And you got Chomp. Damage increase based on enemy's max health. Decent. Not too bad. I'm going B plus tier with this one. Maybe, yeah, the things really keeping this down are the low stamina and low defense. All right, Defiance, the official void pet of the city of Tacoma. Not really. Legendary firefighter. Increased attack for 2 turns at the beginning of battle. Let's see what we got. We got stamina high, attack sky high, defense moderate, speed high. Tail Spike. Volcanic Outburst ignores defense. Dragon Breath applies a burn. Those are actually really good attacks. I gotta give Defiance an A plus tier. That's pretty good. Next, we got Mary. Increase all allies when Mary attack when Mary uses Ding Dong. So, stamina, this is an epic. Stamina, medium, attack high, defense disgustingly low, speed very high. Rejuvenate, heals an ally. Cleanse, removes debuffs. Ding Dong, teams up with allies to attack an enemy with each ally's basic attack. Now that one actually does way more damage than one might think, because that's how many attacks in a row. So that one's pretty good. And I like using the Rejuvenate one because it gives you a fair shot in some tough battles where your DPS types might otherwise get murked. So I'm going with Mary. I like her. A tier. Apathy. Removes the debuff at the end of each turn. Rare Earth Fighter. High stamina, medium high attack, medium defense. You got actually a whole host of pretty powerful attacks for a rare, especially the ram attack. No area of effect attacks, but that's okay. This one is good, workaday, useful for beating tough solo void pets, especially if you are in a boss battle. I kind of like this one. I'm going with a A- tier. Disdain can petrify the strongest adversaries. Gains 10% attack when an enemy heals and activates Corrosive Blast. I kind of like that, actually. Stamina, low for a legendary. Attack, medium. Defense, higher end of medium. Speed, higher end of medium. Skewer, attack an enemy with lots of damage, especially if they have a shield. Toxify, reduce healing received for 2 turns. That one is not impressing me all that much for a legendary. I'm going B+. Panic applies burn, also applies slow for 2 turns. So slow and burning. If an enemy's slow and burning, they're struggling. Stamina 42, pretty good. Medium. Attack 57, high. Defense 21, stupidly low. Speed 51, ridiculously high. Even higher than that one dude who's always first. Pack, attack an enemy. Fireball, attack an enemy for more and burn them. Going nuclear, attack all enemies and apply burns for a ridiculous amount. Alright, that's a really good fire type. I think I'll go A- for that one, and that's only because the defense is so low. But a lot of times these won't even matter with smart leveling up. Resistance. Obviously this one's going to be a tank. No defense, no attack, tons of defense, good stamina. Attack an enemy, gain a shield, both scale with defense. That's almost kind of like lifesteal. I like it. Geo Squash, attack an enemy, damage scales with defense. Grounding, increase the defense of all allies for 2 turns. Alright, so both of the attacks here are boosted by defense. Resistance is sneakily really good. I'm going A+ tier for resistance over here. Determination. Reduce enemy attack 1 hit. This is an epic fire tank. 72, 42, 59. So high stamina, decent defense, mediocre attack. Attack an enemy. If they have a burn debuff, consume it to heal. Unwavering Flame, apply a burn for 10% dealt. Burn off, remove debuffs. Decent, pretty good. but not blowing my skirt up, but still I can see how it is effective. I'm going B plus to A minus. Wonder. All right. What do we got? Low stamina, low defense, high attack. So this is apparently a healer that will just get smoked if it's looked at the wrong way. Attack an enemy, good attack. In 2 turns, deal damage to an enemy. That's a ton of damage. So definitely go for that one. How many more of these do I have? All right, almost there. So we got Mischief next. All attacks bypass tanks. High attack, high-ish stamina. No, medium stamina, medium defense, high speed. The attacks all have pretty good damage. We got this brittle thing and steal buffs from an enemy. Kind of a niche usage right there, but I'm going to go with A minus for that one. Persistence, another legendary. It's a water healer. Medium to high stamina and attack. Medium defense, high speed. All right, next lap, washout. Reduce your attack for next 2 turns. Attack all enemies, heal all allies. All right, so Whirlpool, absolutely. You want to save that one for when your guys are flagging in battle. And that attack alone could wreck a game. So I'm going A with this one. A tier. Ambition. I got hustle though ambition flow inside my DNA. All right. Legendary water fighter. Undertow increases damage of other abilities by 50%. This can stack up to 5 times. So ambition has decent speed. Stamina and defense are okay. Attack is insanely high. Reduce defense for 1 turn. Attack an enemy, damage increased based on max health. Attack all enemies, damage increased based on max health. So that attack doesn't decrease as their health does because their max health is always set. Okay, that's pretty legit, especially against tougher enemies. I'm going A plus tier for this one. Potentially S minus. Conviction. You got a rare metal tank. Stamina, good. Attack, defense, very good. Speed, slow. Steeljaw actually does a lot of damage, so it kind of makes up for that terrible attack a bit. Critical hits grant a shield. That's pretty nice. So for a rare, Conviction gets an A plus for me. A plus tier. Compared to everybody, I'm going B plus. Joy. Low defense, decent attack, mediocre stamina. Increases ally speed for 1 turn when applying beneficial effects. Spark, attack an enemy. Cauterize, heal over 3 turns. That's actually pretty legit. Flame enchantment. Add additional fire damage to the hits by an ally for 2 turns. That one is sneaky good because you could add that buff to one of your fast allies, especially if you got one of those crazy legendary fast allies. You could make them even more ridiculously good. But deals 50% reduced damage on multi-hit attacks. Meh. That's still pretty good, though. I'm giving Joy an A minus tier. Wistful. After using an ability, its effect is repeated at the beginning of the next turn at 70% effectiveness. So this is an epic. You got high attack, medium to high stamina. No, medium stamina and low defense. Low to medium speed. Your skills are Gust to attack an enemy and Leaf Tornado to attack all enemies. Nothing fancy here, just that. Wistful gets a B plus. Not too useful, but not too useless. All right, Scorn. cast Brace for impact at the start of battle. Stamina, medium. Defense, very high. Attack, very high. This is one of the better combinations of high attack and high defense I've seen. Scathing Slice, attack and reduce speed. Sharp Reprisal, random targeting attacks. Brace for impact. Defense for 3 turns until next enemy attacks increase the effect of Sharp Reprisal. Oh, man. That one is not the best to me because of that random targeting, but it's the attack and defense combo is still, you got to pay attention to that. So I'm giving it a A-. Diligence. 3% of max health as bonus damage on each hit. That's actually really good. This is a legendary. Weakish stamina, weakish attack, strongish defense, twin mandibles. Attack an enemy, hit twice. Damage is only 15 though, so not necessarily the best thing you got out there. Attack an enemy, hits 5 times. Heals 20% of damage dealt. So the healing is nice, but the damage of only 9 at base level is kind of stupid. Acid burn, attack an enemy, hit 5 times. Apply a burn for 30%. Damage is 8. Ugh. The only strong stat here is speed. Everything else kind of sucks. The stats are higher than they would be for a rare or a legendary, so for that reason alone, I'm going B+. Alright, Patience. Patience gets increased healing with every turn. Attack an enemy, heal the most injured ally, increase all allies' defense for 2 turns. Alright, so you got a bit of a healer and a bit of an attacker, but mostly a healer. Excuse me. So there's no AoE healing, so that hurts the ranking a bit, but healing in general is important enough to get a B+. Charity always gives more than it gets. High attack, legendary here. Medium stamina, lowish defense, good speed. Skills are all pretty decently good, especially because you got 2 different lifesteal skills. That may be the only one I hear with 2 lifesteal skills. Plus you got the shield. Really good. A+ for charity. And then the last one, you got Petulance, which a special event is going on about right now. So that's a legendary wood tank. That was my nickname in high school. Stamina 81, attack 32, defense 72. So probably the best combination of defense and stamina that I've seen. But the attack is not that good. Speed is faster than one would expect. Sulk, gain a stack of Wallow. Recharge, heal for 40% of max HP. Internalize, present the dust of the max attack. Alright. That's about all so far. I'm giving Petulance I'll give Petulance an 8 here because the skills aren't necessarily blowing my skirt up, but you can't argue with high stats from this one. It's like a tank and not a tank and a healer combined into one. Just a tank with some healing abilities. Alright, thank you for watching. This is Game Hydro. Please like and subscribe.